السلام عليكم.
Minutes, so you remind me how to do it again.
I'll take it. Yeah,
Right?
I'll take
No,
it.
I'm gonna be here. So
Okay. I'll show you.
just show me one more thing. I remember
Yeah.
how you told me, but I want to make sure.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yes. Thank you.
No problem.
Any time?
No, I'm good. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh Shahid.
Let me
Can
just
you hear
get
me?
this here. We should be good to go. Starting a little late here. Okay, we're gonna go screen two. All right. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. علهم ينفعنا بما علمتنا وعلمنا ينفعنا وزن علما لكريم رب العالمين. اللهم نسألك علما نافعا ورزقا واسعا وشفاء لكل داء آمين رب العالمين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. We don't have much people here. Obviously, it was a little late notice, and just obviously after Ramadan, a little start. People are not getting back to classes now. So we're on our 10th class on Salahuddin. It's been almost a month since we did my last one. So we'll do a review, inshallah ta'ala, all those who are online and those who are here in person. Thank you for attending. So let's go back again, right?
Can you hear me, Sheikh Shahid?
Reynald de Chatillon, one of the pharaohs of the time of Salahuddin, one of the worst enemies of Islam, was breaking the truce with Salahuddin. He was killing the pilgrims or the Hujjaj that were going down from Syria and Egypt down to Mecca, Medina, and how awful that was. And so Salahuddin made a vow to kill him and to stop that, if you will. There was a battle of Safaria where the Muslims captured the main garrison of the Crusaders, and they were able to kill a lot of Crusader knights there. That tried to spark the Crusaders to try to attack Salahuddin. Salahuddin said that he made a plan to go to the fortress of Tiberias, where that was more of a plot to draw the Crusaders out from Safaria over to Tiberias. Remember, Tiberias is by that water area, by the lake of Tiberias. and trapped them in the plains of Hattin, where we talked about that last time in 1187, where that was the main battle that Salahuddin fought against the Crusaders, and pretty much a decisive battle. After that, it's downhill for the Crusaders from there, right? And then the Muslims were able to capture the true cross, which once they believed that Jesus, peace be upon him, was crucified on. King Guy, they captured him. He was the king of Jerusalem, and Reynald de Chatillon, which they ended up killing him. Salahuddin did, for good reasons for him, how much people that he killed. So we talked about this also as a map. It's been a while. How this is where all the whole area, let me move this out of the way if I can, where the Muslims were ruling. And so how they captured all this, or the Salahuddin captured all this different areas here. There you go. Right. And all that's left is pretty much Jerusalem. That's down in that area there. Right. It's not excellent. Right. Let me just, where's my mouse at? There it is. Let's go this way. Yeah, there you go. And then for today, we're going to talk about Hassan Nadwi's comment on Palestine. We'll just talk about it briefly. The conquest of the coast of Palestine and Syria, or Lebanon, and then the liberation of Jerusalem, which is the main event of this whole series. And then the first khutbah, or Jummah khutbah, of Salahuddin as he enters Jerusalem. We'll go over some of the wording, exactly what did he say, and what did he mention in there now that he finally has liberated Jerusalem. Right. So Abdul Hassan al-Nadwi, rahimahullah, was a famous scholar that passed away recently in 1999. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have mercy upon him. Started up one of the main scholars of the Nadwi school in India, wrote many, many books. And he says something very interesting on how was Salahuddin successful? And what do we need today and to gain that same type of victory? So he says the only solution to the issue of Palestine is for a new Salahuddin to emerge on the stage of Palestine and on the stage of jihad once again. Okay? You possess resources that neither America nor Russia possesses, and that is a resource of faith, of iman. Okay? To the resource of strong faith. The resource exists, but it needs to be stirred up. It needs to be harnessed in a sincerest manner. Okay, these are very interesting words he's saying here, right? So one thing he's talking about here, let's go to the first part here. The solution to Palestine is that we need to emerge a leader. And this is why what happened with the fall of the Khalifa, we don't have a central king, leader, emir that says, guys, Muslims all go to corner A. Let's all go to corner B, right? Let's do this. Everyone has different leaders in their masajid or their country. And so we're united through faith, but not through movement, if you will. Okay. So there needs to be a leader that comes out and gathers through this force that, hey, let's concentrate on this issue here. There's tens of 100 issues out there. And let's do this and try to conquer it and move on from there. And instead on the stage of jihad once again. Okay. And this is the stage of defending the Muslims and defending their lives. Okay, we all know right now in Gaza, you're waking up every morning to some type of message on your phone that X amount of people died in Gaza, in the West Bank, or in Sudan, and different places, if you will. So there's not much of a fortification for the Muslim lives right now, right? No country, whether Jordan, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, Pakistan, and the list goes on, to come and defend the Muslim lives. So that needs to be stirred up. Okay, and that's not what the news media says what jihad is, but it is defending and fighting against oppression. Now, no one wants to enter that state. They're scared for their seat. They're scared for their people. They're scared for their wealth. Other things, which is all somewhat legit, concerns to an extent. But that needs to be if you don't have a defense force, you don't have a standing army for a country or a group of people or a village, then someone's going to come and take your town, your village, and so forth. Unfortunately, we wish the world was not like that. And people said, oh, you guys live over there? Okay, we'll just go live somewhere else. That's just not how things work, unfortunately, right? People want to come and take your rights and so forth. So that has to be talked about again. That Muslim, we need to, defend our lands and also defend, against injustice and call for justice, which is a very American principle also that we all should be doing. And then you possess resources neither America nor Russia or possesses, and that is iman. Other people are fighting for because of the GI Bill. They might get X amount of money. Some may do it because they love their country. Some may do it for X other things, if you will. But we're doing it because we understand that this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, God Almighty, has told us to defend against those who are being oppressed. And this is something of faith, which is something that's not materialistic gain, right? And this is something we understand that we'll be asked about on the Day of Judgment, and we actually care about. Okay. And then he said that this needs to be stirred up. Wow, that's not what's going on in Gaza today, right? It's united us to come together to speak out. A lot of people are waking up, and that's exactly, the resource exists, but it needs to be stirred up. And we hope that we are stirred up to extent. I think we're still in the waking state. There's definitely great positive signs, but there's a lot more awakening that needs to happen. And then it needs to be harnessed in a sincere manner. So we have a lot of people waking up, but they're doing all different things. It needs to be organized and on what we need to do. And that comes from leadership, right? So he says a lot of great things here. This is not all his speech. I just kind of put a couple things here that's mentioned by Dr. Salabi in his book about what did Abdul Hassan al-Nadwi mention here. So some points here just to think about as we go through the series and what we're dealing with today. Okay. So after the Battle of Hattin, we go to the conquest of the coast before the conquest of Jerusalem. So a lot of conquesting, if you will. Okay. So we have Tiberias, which is where Salahuddin kind of dragged the Crusaders to the Hattin plateau before they got to Tiberias. And after he defeated them, he went to that fortress now and took that over there, released 44,000 Muslim captives. Right? There's a lot of people that are just captive. Alhamdulillah, he did able to do that, causing no harm to the local people. This is very Salahuddin's, staple, way of dealing with people, subhanAllah. Didn't go murder, plunder, burn people's houses down, kill their children, what we're seeing that's going on today. Right? He did no harm to the people. You guys want to stay in your area. It's not a Muslim leader that's ruling here, and there's no harm to you. He went to Akka, or Acre, they call it in English, or other people, if you will. Akka is an area there off the coast where he went towards there whenever the people came out of the city saying, please come in. We don't want any war, etc. We know who you are. We know how righteous you are. And he granted them all safety to live their lives, and their property, didn't confiscate it. None of these things, if you will. It's amazing just to think about what's going on in Ukraine, what's going on in Gaza, what's going on in other places, if you will. SubhanAllah. Okay. Give them the choice between staying or leaving. Want to stay here, you have a Muslim leader, you have to deal with it, right? That's the land now that you're in. Or you can leave. And then use at the center of his army to go down to these many other cities here, right? To go Haifa, Fula, all these different places to go and conquer their area as a base, since obviously Damascus is a little bit far. Of course, Egypt is a little bit far. And then go ahead and do this. Now, why was he doing that for? If we go back to our little map here, is that this whole, and it's not really super clear anyhow, but the whole coast here is what he wants to protect. Because then you have all the people from the Byzantine Empire and also from the Crusaders that come and bring boats here, and they're supplying the Crusaders back again. They're bringing men, they're bringing money, they're bringing food, and that's going to all turn against them again. So if he stops the ports all down this coast here, goes all the way down here, then he's able to stop that from the Crusaders refueling and reestablishing themselves again after the Battle of Hattin. So very smart. You might think, the Battle of Hattin, let's go straight to Jerusalem. Let's get it on, this free Palestine, this free Al-Quds. That is what the goal is, right? He's much smarter than that, right? Don't get too anxious, don't get too overzealous. Let's put some strategy together, and then we'll get to that. Don't worry, Allah will make it come in its due time. So that was the wisdom of Salahuddin in terms of doing that. Also, and this kind of stuff I mentioned here, he captured Ramla, Bethlehem, Hebron, Ascalon, Gaza, Jaffa, all these different places around the coast that he did. Here's a little map of it here. You can see that he's really cleaning up all these areas here that's on here where there might be ports where they might come. Ascalon is more around this area here. Gaza we know very well. Jaffa is right here. Bethlehem, Hebron, Haifa, Akka, and then there's Saida also that he captured, Beirut. And he put a red mark about the area of Sur or Tyre, they say in English, the way they translate it. Why? Because he tried to get to Tyre or Sur before going down here to Jerusalem, but he was not able to get it. And that is crucial to know. Why? Because after conquering and liberating Jerusalem, he will go back up to Tyre, and that will kind of end his life there. That's where you will have a tremendous amount of problem of getting this, and that will spark the Third Crusade. But nonetheless, he tried very much. His generals had to tell him, Salahuddin, we tried here, we've been fighting for so long, let's move on. It's so much resources, and it was hard for him to get this one fortress here. And some other reasons why I do that was they had a good military general, they had a lot of people inside the city, soldiers, more than they had outside, and so they were outnumbered. Okay? Everyone after the Battle of Hattin went there and to kind of seek refuge there. And so they had a lot of warriors that were there. Okay, so Tyre and Kirik, remember Kirik, that's where Reynaud was stationed at, and since he's dead now, nonetheless, they were not. Were able to conquer Kirik, the fortress of Kirik, and he'll do it after the battle or the liberation of Jerusalem. Okay, so let's go there. So that's a little map here. Kind of good to know all these different places because it's going to be, believe me, we'll continue to be this area here for Yom Qiyamah probably. So it's good to know these areas and what's going on here. Liberation of Jerusalem. So here we are. This is kind of like, the meat of the point we're waiting for in these 10 classes we've had so far on this series here. So Salahuddin finally, after conquering and getting all those fortresses on the coastal cities, said, let's go to Jerusalem. Once he made that announcement, that went through all the khutbahs throughout the Muslim lands in that area, and everyone wanted to join. Who wouldn't? If you're sitting down and you know that this is about to happen, and Salahuddin has a good bunch of army, if you could sit down in the back or something, kind of walk in, you would do it, right? I mean, obviously you would want to fight and also be part of this whole, event, if you will, of open up Masjid Aqsa once again. So after 88 years of occupation of the Crusader forces, remember they took it over in 1099, right? Now the Muslims are finally at the fort, at the doorsteps of Jerusalem again. Okay, on the city walls. Many refugees around the Crusader refugees flooded into the city, which is a good and bad thing for them because a lot of people wanted to come there, but there are also a lot of the farmers and other people who weren't really warriors. So they're in the city, but they're not well equipped and they're not really fighters, which is good for Salahuddin, bad for Crusaders. Okay, so they were there. Of course, a lot of men die in these wars on the Crusader side. So the ratio between men and women, some say, was 1 to 50. Most of them were women and children, and the men were very, very, smaller number. Okay? Some said there were 60,000 horsemen in the city. You might say that's actually a lot of men. Well, if you think about it, that's not a lot in terms of all the other people are kind of left in that region. Okay, Salahuddin ordered the Egyptian Navy to come and patrol the waters of the Mediterranean Sea to make sure the Crusaders are not coming with any boats to refill, right? And they're able to capture some of those vessels that were coming from Italy and the areas around there. Very interesting story. I mean, this is things that you wish it would be on the news and people would understand the beauty of Islam even more and more and more. Balian of Ibli, right? This goes. We talked about him as being one of the Templars and one of the knights, even though he wasn't one of the ones that were like, killing children and other things, if you will. He escaped from the Battle of Hattin. Now, his wife and his children are in Jerusalem. So he wants to go into Jerusalem before Salahuddin comes and get his wife out and get his children out to make sure they're not captured. So that's what's going to happen. That's going to happen. But he arrives late. And Salahuddin is already at the doorsteps of the walls of Al-Quds of Jerusalem. Balian knows Salahuddin very well, right? Imagine this Crusader knight goes up to Salahuddin and says, hey, Salahuddin, I know you're here. Hey, I got no sword here. I'm not going to try to kill you. But my wife and my daughter's in there. Would you mind if I go get them and bring them out? First, I want you guys to understand how crazy that thought is. You know what I mean? Just today, what's going on in these wars? Imagine some husband family comes and says, "Can I get my family out?" They're not even letting aid into the area. Yet alone you can go and get your family out, right? Salahuddin looks at him and says, "Go ahead. Go ahead if you want to. Go ahead, save your wife and children, and come back out." Okay. When he enters Jerusalem, he's one of the Templars. And now there's not much knights in the city, like I mentioned. Most of them are laymen and farmers and so forth. They see Balian is like, oh my gosh, you're a knight. Like you actually know how to fight. You're trained in this field. Lead this war against Salahuddin. His army's out there. He said, I know. I just talked to him, right? They said, you need to stay here and fight with us, right? You're part of the Crusaders. This is your religion, etc., etc., etc. Okay. Balian knows that he just took an oath with Salahuddin that I'm just going to go get my daughter and my wife and bring them out. And he's actually someone who actually cared about his word, which is something you don't really find even nowadays, right? So he says, you know what? Let me go back to Salahuddin. He goes, oh, Salahuddin, I know I give you my word. I was just going to get my wife and my child, but I went in there and they told me to stay there, lead the fight, and can I take my word back? Would you allow me to do that? Would you give me permission? Salahuddin says, go ahead. Go ahead. If you want to, you go in there. Okay, I release you of your word. And they say, okay, thank you. But one other request. Can you get my wife and my children? I'm gonna let them out of the city. Can you take them and put them in a safe area? Now I'm taking care of your wife and your children now of the enemy, of someone's going to lead the revolt against me. So he said, oh, okay, I'll take your wife and your children. We'll put our Muslim guards around them and we'll take them to Sur, Tyre, right? Which the area that they couldn't conquer. Imagine that. You spent so long time not to conquer that area. Now you're telling someone else's wife to go there because that's where the Crusaders are. So he sets up Muslim soldiers to take Balian's wife and children, escort them, I don't know how long that journey is, maybe a week or I don't know, 5 days, up to Tyre and deliver them to the fortress that they were just at siege with, and then let those soldiers come back. I want you guys to understand how wild that is. You know, how much rahmah, how much, humanity that an individual who is conquering lands has. That's why non-Muslims are so praising him up to today. Okay, so that happens there. Okay, and then he says, okay, Balian, go back inside your Jerusalem, get your army ready, we're fighting tomorrow. They said, okay, right? So they start, right? They start the fight, right? It goes on for about 12 days. It starts around Rajab the 21st, 583 Hijri, right? We're in 1447, I believe, or 47, right? And in this Gregorian calendar, it's September 26th, 1187, and the battle starts. The Muslims have these big mangolans, which are like catapults. You tie a big rock to it, it flings it, it hits the wall, right? It tries to break the wall there, and it keeps on hitting that wall. They got archers that are firing, their arrows to the people that are the Crusaders that are on top of these walls here trying to fight back. And they keep on doing it over and over again. There's some battles at the wall itself. They're pouring hot oil onto the Muslim army below them, setting them on fire. They got towers. You see one of them is kind of fall on the ground over here, where they climb up and then they try to go over the wall, right? It's some of the things we talked about in battles before. Finally, they break the wall, and you see there's a picture there of the wall being broke right there. And the Muslims run through. Right, Balian starts getting everyone he can. He gets even the young kids that are able to fight, 16, 15-year-olds. He said, you guys are a knight now, basically. You're part of the Templars, right? Go ahead and fight. Give them a sword. And they are actually able to push the Muslims back. Okay, and the Muslims are not able to go through the war. They enter a little bit, and they raise up the flag of Salahuddin, then it's taken down, and they push them back, actually. So they're fighting for their lives here, right? And that sets up some negotiations between Balian and Salahuddin. So they send some negotiations to Salahuddin saying, hey, we make a truce, right? Let everyone free in the city and we'll stop the war. Salahuddin says, no, I'm not going to sign that. I don't want that at all. He just doesn't acknowledge it. Why does he not acknowledge it for? I mean, he's letting people's wives and children come out of the city and, walk away with untouched. It's because he made a promise, and he cares about his word. He made a promise that I will take the city by war for what they did. Okay. And so that was something that between him and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he said, if I let you guys go free and we make a truce, I'm not fulfilling my vow. So he said, I don't want to talk about that. So let's keep on going. Next, Balin comes and meets with Salahuddin. He said, let me talk to him personally. He says, Salahuddin, hey, let everyone go free and we'll stop the war. People are dying left and right. Your army's getting killed. My army's getting killed. And then he said, no, I'm not going to accept that. Balin said, if you do not accept this, I will go and ruin Masjid Aqsa. I will burn it down. I will burn down the Dome of the Rock. I will burn all our supplies, all our wealth. So when you come into the city, you have nothing. Your holy places will be destroyed. I'll destroy even the Christian holy places. So there'll be nothing. Nobody would want to come to this area. It won't be significant at all. Pretty crazy. I don't know if he would have done that. But Salahuddin says, okay. He talks to his advisors. He said, if I sign this, will I still fulfill my vow of taking the city by war? It says, Salahuddin, yes, because you already been fighting X amount of days, and don't worry, you're not breaking an oath with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so he says, okay, Balin, go ahead. You guys got 40 days to get out of this city. Go ahead and gather everybody. And then he makes some type of ransoms for them. Okay. So he sets up this thing where he says, everybody who's going to come out of the city, every man, rich or poor, has to pay 10 dirhams. So like, it's a gold coin. 5 dirhams for women, 4 dirhams for boys. Okay. Like, we have to, can't just walk away free. There has to be some type of something here. Men died here. You know what I mean? Let's go. And so what happened, Balin paid for a good amount of the poor individuals, but there were so many people that didn't have money. And so they couldn't pay the ransom. And after 40 days, if you didn't have the money, guess what? You become the servants or the slaves of the Muslim army now, because now we're going to come in and we're just going to capture you. Okay. And so many of them after the 40 days came to Salahuddin and said, you know what? I don't have anything. Salahuddin goes into his own bank, his own pot of money, and gives them dirham to go ahead and say, I free you, I free you, I free you. Salahuddin is freeing crusaders. He's freeing Christians, right, to get out of the city from his own wealth. I don't know if look what's going on in Gaza today. Imagine they'll say, I'll pay for you guys to come out of Gaza. We'll fly you out to the hospitals. SubhanAllah, look at this kind of religion that's what Islam teaches us, SubhanAllah. And once he starts doing that, his other people in his court, Salahuddin's court, says, if he's paying for free crusaders, then they felt shy. They went to go get their money, and they would pay for other people to leave. And then he started making exceptions. He said, if you're old, then you don't have to pay anything. If you're a child, then go away free. And then some women came and said, my husband, my father has been captured at Hattin. Right? They were fighting against you. They're trying to kill you. And you know what? I want to be reunited to them. So what's their name? He said, gets to the name. He tells the soldiers, go and find out where they're at and free them and unite them with their wives. This is, this doesn't a lot of people will say this doesn't make too much sense because they're going to reunite and try to kill you, Salahuddin. They're going to try to come back and fight. That's usually what happens. Usually don't say like, oh, he's such a good guy. The Muslims are good. Let me become Muslim. Right? Really rare people do that. But Salahuddin said, okay, as the women were saying that you're a murderer, you making us pay, you killed my father. And he said, like, you know what? Those people that fought against us in Hattin, that was an unjust war. Right? But here I'm giving you guys mercy for coming out of the city. And some of these women started crying and said, you know what? May God curse the people that told us lies about you. That you're totally different from what they told us. Right? So he's doing a subhanAllah amazing thing. The people wrote books about what he did to Jerusalem. If you guys remember in 1099, go back to class number 1. It's been a while now. I don't even know, 3 months ago or something, right? What did the Crusaders do when they came into Masjid Aqsa and Jerusalem? 40 to 70,000 people, Muslims died. Women, children, Muslims were hiding in Masjid Aqsa, thought they would be safe. They killed them in Masjid Aqsa. Blood all on the floor, on the walls. Right? This were the Crusaders. This is what sparked Salahuddin. Wasn't even born yet, but others to Nuruddin and Imaduddin and the Zenkis to rise up against this. Now he's turning against them 88 years later, and not one person dies after this. The treaty had been signed. Right? People were just let out of the city. He even agreed to have people go on his boat, take them back to Europe. So you're not even supposed to be in this land. You guys are colonialists, right? This is not your land, right? This is not where you're supposed to be at. Just go back, if you will, right? He even offers those type of things, which is crazy, if you will. The Armenians are in there, the 500 Armenians that say, we're not really like, we're the different type of Christians. We're Eastern Orthodox. We're not part of that whole, Crusader thing, but we're just here because we wanted to worship. And they got a letter from their leader. Salahuddin says, okay, you 500 people, just go, walk out. And no harm for you either. It's like, man, subhanAllah, nobody is getting touched or anything like this, right? And so some of the Crusaders said, you know what? We're leaving our homes. So they started ransacking their homes so the Muslims wouldn't take it, selling their property for cheap before they could go. Because even Salahuddin said, you know what? You guys could leave the city and take your belongings too. So they were able to take their gold and their silver and their clothes and whatever they had with them out. Why would they take their stuff for? Only to what? What does that mean? That they're going to build back somewhere. They're going to start another colony somewhere else, right? So why would you let them take their stuff for? Right? Remember, if you go back to the Sirah, the Prophet ﷺ even did this also with the Jewish tribes in Medina when they were kicked out for their treason and so forth. Bani Qaynuqa, they asked, don't kill us, can we go free? Can we take our wealth with us? He said, okay. Prophet ﷺ said, okay, go. Or we're not going to kill you. You go free. Yeah, and take your wealth. We don't have an issue with that, right? And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions sort of Dukhan here, where he talks about Fir'aun here. But you could, say that applies to the Crusaders, what they're doing to their homes here. So how many of gardens and fountains have they left? And crops and noble places, and goodly things where they rejoiced in. Thus we caused to inherit it another people. Right? Fir'aun had all these things, right? And now what? Their land, they're all gone. Right? So same thing here, that this same thing, they had so many things that they were enjoying, but Allah made it that other people came to inherit it, the righteous people, if you will. Right? So this was Salahuddin Al-Ayyubi, rahimahullah, what he does, and he lets so many people go, even though they were fighting, right? This is like the rahmah and the mercy that he had. So it said here that the city was handed over on October 12th, 1187, right? Which is on the 27th of Rajab, which is the majority opinion where the Isra and Mi'raj happened. When the Prophet ﷺ went from Mecca to Jerusalem, and then prayed in Masjid Aqsa, and then where the Dome of the Rock is, went up to the Sabah Samawat, the 7 skies above, and got the commandment to pray 50 times a day, and then went down to 5 times a day. So subhanAllah, look how that happens. Exactly on Rajab, on the 27th. And it's a day of Jummah too, right? That, if Allah gives khair to somebody, gives bounty to somebody, it's very clear that you can see how Allah blesses people, right? If they are sincere to Him and they think about Him, Allah will give you back. And so he enters on this day, he enters the city. He orders that to make the city as it was before, because what the Crusaders did, they made Masjid Aqsa a place where the people use their bathroom at, and desecrated the place. So he had them take rose water, clean all the walls, all the floors, brought in nice carpet, gems and marble from Constantinople, right, to decorate the walls and the floor, and built it back as a place of honor. The Crusaders put a big cross on the Dome of the Rock, and so he had that taken down. Obviously, that's quite obvious. But some people said, why don't you destroy the Church of the Holy Sepulchre? Sepulchre was the church where Christians believe Jesus was crucified at least at that spot. And then they made a church over it. Okay. And that's where the true cross was held. And someone said, you know what, destroy this church, destroy all their relics, if you will. If you guys remember, Umar radiallahu anh, same thing. When he came into there, he did not destroy the church of the Holy Sepulchre again. Same thing, Salahuddin leaves it, right? Leaves it there so that, they'll come. They're free to make pilgrimage to Jerusalem, do their prayers, and leave the city. Okay. Even allow that. You might think, why would you allow other people to worship other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in your land, right? And so he left that there. So maybe they might come, they might see Islam, they might greet Muslims, and maybe that might change their way. most of the time that doesn't happen that way, but nonetheless, he did not demolish it, and that church is still there up to today. We went over this in the early classes on the series here. What else did he do? Yeah, some Christians said, "Yo, can we stay in the city?" He said, "Go ahead, man. You guys get every type of privilege possible." And he said, he ransomed them, took their ransom, and they stayed in the city, and he let them, live there as, so that Muslims and Christians live in there. He didn't excommunicate them. He said, as long as you don't disturb anyone or cause a nuisance, then you're free to live in the city. And they paid the jizya, which is kind of like the zakat for the non-Muslims, which, that's something you have to pay. It's like a city tax, like everyone pays taxes in the city for your defense and for your water and all the different things of the upkeep of the city itself. Okay. No house was plundered. No one was harmed. No blood in the streets. So what happened when they came in, the Crusaders came in 1099. No killing in the churches. They didn't corner them in the churches and chop their heads off. None of these type of things, if you will. Okay. And so this is, subhanAllah, the way that Al-Quds was liberated. He said Jerusalem would be the same way as it was before you guys came in here. People were living, there were Jews here, there were Muslims, there were Christians here. Everyone was fine. This is not something that, that's different than I'm doing here. So subhanAllah, that's what Salahuddin was. He enters into the masjid. Like I said, it was a Friday, right? And if you guys remember, I put up this point earlier that Nuruddin Mahmud Zanki, Nuruddin was his title, in 1169, 19 years before Salahuddin enters into Jerusalem in 1187. Back then, he made a membar for Masjid Aqsa, that when we conquer Masjid Aqsa, when we liberate Masjid Aqsa, this is the membar. Membar is where the khutbahs are done. It's like a big staircase. You stand up and you can see it right there. And so he said that this would be the membar that we place in Masjid Aqsa. And he had for many years, you can see all the different ways that the wood was cut. This is how the membars are right now in Turkey and Egypt. You can still see that today. It's pretty amazing, right? And so you enter through this little door here, and then you walk up, you give the khutbah, and you come down. You don't pray in this area, you just give the khutbah there, and then you go and you pray in the mihrab area over here. So this was a picture of it. So he had his carpenters work on it for many years, articulate it, change the revision, make all this, fine, detail to it, and said they'll be ready for Masjid Aqsa. What happened in the masjid in Aleppo, in Jamia Masjid in Aleppo, burnt down. So I'm not sure how that happened, but nonetheless, so they put the membar there. So we'll keep it here because they need a membar anyhow. And then when Masjid Aqsa is free, we'll move this. So Salahuddin had that membar brought over. So either was the first khutbah or the second one, the week after. He puts it in Masjid Aqsa, and he gets up and gives the khutbah to the people for the first time in over 88 years, if you will. It's a pretty long khutbah. At least what Dr. Slabi has in the book is a couple pages. I'm going to assume you write that kind of slow, it will take you maybe 20, 15 minutes to read or to give, if you will. So I'll put some points here, what he mentioned here. So he mentions here, verbatim for what's in the book, is this not the house which was venerated by the kings and praised by the messengers, in which the 4 books in the Injil, the Torah, the Psalms, the Quran, which were revealed to you from your God and glorified and exalted, are recited? It's not the house. It's not Masjid Aqsa that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has praised, right? Is it not the house for the sake of which Allah held back the son of Joshua, holding it back from setting and causing it to move slowly until you achieved victory? When they fought the giants, Goliath and his army, right? Allah held the sun until they were able to finish the battle, so it wouldn't be nighttime upon them. Okay. Is this not the house which Allah commanded Musa alayhi salam to enjoy his people to save, but no one responded except 2 men, which was Dawood alayhi salam and Joshua himself. And Allah was angry with them because of it and made them wander in the wilderness, wander in the land, as a punishment for their disobedience, right? So basically they didn't take it. Now you guys are taking it. So he's reminding them of the honor of where are you sitting in right now, what is the virtue and the status of that. You listen to this khutbah in this land right now where you're at, to show the importance of Masjid Aqsa itself. And then he goes on. So praise Allah, who strengthened you with your resolve to do that which the children of Israel refused to do at the time when they were favored over all others. When they were favored, right? When the favor was taken away. Beware, lest the devils cause you to slip, and beware of transgressing the limits, and thinking that this victory only came about because of your sharp swords. Don't think that it's because we had this army, because we prepared, because we had the catapults. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you that victory. Right? This is a lesson that we learned from the Battle of Badr. You remember, the Prophet mentioned that also, and Allah mentioned in the Quran, right? That Allah gave that victory. Always think about that. Don't get too haughty. I know that it's not from you, but from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Jihad is the best of your acts of worship and the noblest of your traditions. Don't get complacent that you got Masjid Aqsa and just start kicking it, right? And lie on your couches, because believe me, an army is going to come and they're going to want to take it back to you. So make sure they know that this is something that needs to still continue to be done. Support Allah's cause and He will cause you to prevail. Remember Allah and He will remember you. Give thanks to Allah and He will increase your blessings and show appreciation to you. Strive hard to put the end of this problem and finish off the enemy. Purify the rest of the land that has angered Allah and His messenger, right, from what they have done to the land. So not everything is conquered yet. So reminding them this is not it. The time for Islamic vengeance and supporting the Ummah of Muhammad ﷺ is overdue. You could copy and paste that and put it today, right? That it's overdue. How many children and women we're seeing killed in Gaza and other places, right? We need that support of the Muslim Ummah and the Prophet ﷺ once again, right? Of course, it has to be done in an organized fashion, but that's way well overdue. Okay, and so this is some points that he mentions there. Lets them understand that this is, something that's central to our deen, that we have to fight against injustice. It's not just about praying and then giving charity, but also there's this aspect of it, because people, unfortunately, will come after you and try to kill you if you just sit there. And, we wish that they wouldn't do it. People just leave other people alone and let them live in their houses, and you live in your houses, and we're good. But unfortunately, the world doesn't work like that. Nobody knows. So these are some points here. We'll stop here of his khutbah that he mentioned. After this, he will go to Kerak, and then he'll go back to Tyre. And he passes away, I believe, in 1190. I have it on the first slide. 1193. So this is 1187. So it's 5 more years of his life, 6 more years of his life that we'll go over. So we'll try to finish it in the next class, where we'll go back to Tyre Sur over here, and then he'll pass away. And then there'll be call for a 3rd crusade. And that's where Richard the Lionheart and some of these people that you've heard before will come and come and try to fight against the Muslims. And we'll see that they won't get very far in their 3rd crusade nonetheless. And we'll talk about that. And we'll talk about who leads, who takes power after Salahuddin. Right? He has a brother that takes over some power, and we'll see how that works out. So we'll talk about that in the next. So next Sunday, unfortunately, I know I hate to do this, I won't have class. There's a camp I'll be at. And then the following week, we'll have hopefully one more class, and we're able to finish everything here. And I might play some clips from the Kingdom of Heaven, because it has some really good clips on terms of the battle and the liberation of Jerusalem, to give you some more of a visual of how things, went down. And then so hoping that we'll wrap that up, inshallah ta'ala. Alrighty. Any questions or comments? Anyone or people online?
Assalamu alaikum. Can you hear me, Sheikh Shahid?
Like worried.
Okay. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it was just, there was a hadith mentioned about this where the Prophet ﷺ said there will be khilafah for 30 years, and then after that there will be like kings and like kingship, and then afterwards the khilafah will come back upon the way of the Sahaba. So it's interesting because obviously, so wouldn't that mean that, and obviously things will get worse before the Qiyamah, but like, yeah, the Khilafah will come back. That was promised by the Prophet ﷺ. The thing is, like, won't that be at a time when people are practicing and going back to the way of the Salaf as-Salihin?
Yeah. So we're definitely not there yet.
Yeah, so that's the thing, like, obviously we gotta be patient. I mean, even Algeria, remember it was conquered, that's actually similar to what's going on in Palestine too. Like, you look back at our history, that's another thing that doesn't really get brought up, even like South Africa.
Yeah.
Apartheid South Africa, that took time.
Yeah.
It doesn't just go away overnight. These
No,
things
no,
are
no.
not gonna be solved. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, obviously the key is to, you know, just try to implement Islam in the purest form, going back to the Salaf as-Salihin,
Yeah.
the Sahaba, the Tabi'in, and the Tabi'in. That's how we're gonna liberate Allah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
the revival of that, of just practicing Islam, right? A lot of people who weren't very practicing before because of Gaza, you know, you see them at the masjid now in different places now, alhamdulillah, their iman and their faith, because the victory is not going to become, not going to come through necessarily political activism, even though we need that. That's part of the puzzle.
Yeah.
But, you know, with that connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which political activism is very part of, you know, key essence of it, but it's all of that together, right? There's no way that, you know, secular movements will get this, right?
Yeah,
And so,
United Nations would be useless.
yeah.
It's literally just like it's I don't know if I can say this, Taghut institution. That's all it is. It's
Yeah.
man-made. It doesn't work. The point of the United Nations is to stop the people like this, and
Yeah.
it's like they can't even do that. And
Right.
interestingly enough, it's called Netanyahu, so I don't know if that was where he got his name from.
Oh, I don't think so. I think he changed his name also.
Yeah, it was like wasn't it like something
Yeah, no, his last name is something, it's a Polish, I think it's a Polish last name, but yeah, some kind of ski.
Like that, yeah.
Some kind of ski. That's
He
fun.
has a ski, yeah.
Go ahead, yeah, did you get your
He's
question?
from Philadelphia, by the way.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, he lived in Philly. That's why
Oh,
English
yeah.
is so good.
Yeah, that's true.
Salam alaikum. Sheikh Shahid, can you hear me? No.
He'll let to go, leave the city free, and he would on Salahuddin will pay it.
Let's see. Why cannot hear me?
I don't see anything in the book or resource I've said that a lot of people became Muslim. In the Battle of Hattin, the prisoners were given the option to become Muslim, and a lot of them did. Not a lot of them, I mean, some did, if you will. But here, I don't really see that much became Muslim. I'm assuming there had to be one or two or something like that. I just really wasn't documented. They were more just wanting to leave, or like I mentioned, some stayed. And that's, you know, that was good enough for them. Yeah, that's a good point.
I'm sure you covered this in the previous classes, but when was the large cross put on top of the dome?
Well, in 1099 is when the Crusaders took over Jerusalem. So I'm assuming they must have built it sometime after that. Yeah. So they put that on there up to show, obviously to obviously spite the Muslims. They know that's where the problem, and even like they said, the Dome of the Rock, there's a rock area that's there where they believe the Prophet ﷺ was able to go up. And they would actually break part of that rock and sell it in different lands and to purposely do this. So I'm assuming they probably put the cross up there sometime. I'm not sure exactly when, but yeah, good questions there. All righty. All right, Dr. Siddiqui has class in about 5 minutes or so. May Allah bless all of you. Inshallah, I hope you guys are benefiting from all that we went over. It's good to revive our history. We, like I said, if you don't know your history, it's kind of hard to learn the lessons that happened beforehand. So hopefully you guys are benefiting. Inshallah, we'll see you in 2 weeks. We'll make a dua. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Rahman Rahim, salam, wa minka salam, tabarakta ya dhul jalali ikram. اللهم صل وسلم على نبينا Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Ya Rahman Rahim, Ya Ghafur. We ask you to, this class that we have taken, we ask you to put in our scale of hasanat and Yawm al-Qiyamah. Oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, help us learn the lessons of the life of Salahuddin and the Muslims, Ya Rahman Rahim. Oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, free our brothers and lands of our brothers and sisters in Gaza and Palestine. Protect their lives, protect their children, protect their homes, protect their schools, protect their property, Ya Rahman Rahim. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, build it back better than they had before. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, give freedom to them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, make us of those that are able to give freedom to them and help those who are oppressed. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun. Wa salamun mursaleen. Alhamdulillah rabbil alameen. May Allah bless all of you. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Oh, sorry, Brother Johan, did you have a question?
Yeah, well, salam alaikum. I don't think you can hear me.
Oh, I didn't see it though. Okay, I don't see the question.
Can you hear me?
Okay, I think we're good. Yeah.
Oh, wanted to speak.
Oh, I can't, I don't hear him. He is speaking. Ah. Yeah, I think the volume might be going through the projector. And I should know this because I do this for Dr. Siddiqui all the time. Do I have my volume on? Oh, I have my volume at 100. Well, Johan, could you
Yeah,
Try
can
what-
you hear me?
That's not good. I don't hear them. I could probably, if I do this. I still don't hear
No, can't hear me? My audio seems to work.
it. Too long to type, yeah. Sorry about that. I'm testing out the mic right now. It's not working. Okay, so sorry about that. I don't need to figure this out one of these days. All right, inshallah, I'll see you guys there. Sorry about that, brother Johan. Assalamu alaikum. All right.